You telling me we lost that election so bad that Michelle Obama's making dating shows? Damn. All right, welcome to Taste Take. If you're new here, today we're talking about the new Netflix reality show, The Later Daters. And I guess I'm gonna be talking about it like you've seen it too. If that's something you're into, hit that subscribe button for your boy. For my regular taste takers, let's see how the late boomers do it. Get it? I said late boomers instead of late bloomers because they're baby boomers? Yeah, never mind. Okay, quick background here. The Later Daters is a new Netflix reality dating show that comes to us from Higher Ground Productions. If you didn't know, Higher Ground Productions is the production company that was created by Barack and Michelle Obama back in 2018. And for the last 6 years, they've been working with Netflix to bring us content that lifts up diverse voices in the entertainment industry, or at least that's how Michelle describes it. This is the first reality dating show that Higher Ground Productions has done, and it seems to be right on time with how popular shows like The Golden Bachelor have become. Did you know that The Golden Bachelor finale brought in over 6.1 million viewers? It was the highest viewed episode of The Bachelor since Matt James' season in 2021. Here in The Later Daters, we focus on 6 baby boomers from the Atlanta, Georgia area. Now, in case you didn't know, or you just want to check up on your crew, baby boomers are people in their mid-50s to the mid-70s. These 6 boomers are about to get back into the dating scene with the help of their adult children and their close friends. Not only that, these singles are going to be working with relationship expert Logan Ury, who trained at Harvard as a behavioral scientist. Then she worked at Google and ran their behavioral science unit. Now she works at Hinge as a director of relationship science. You probably thinking Hinge was just some stupid dating app. No, they got scientists up in there. She also wrote the book How to Not Die Alone, which is a heavy title, but I'm sure it's a good book. We got a diverse cast here. Some of them are divorced, some of them are widowed, and some of them just been single for a long ass time. But what they all have in common is that they're ready to get back out there and start dating. And that's very cool, because everyone deserves a partner, no matter how old you are.
6 silver singles are about to go on a series of blind dates, but they don't have to go it alone.
So do you think your mom's easy to date?
I'm gonna get this dating coach. Oh, she's here.
I'm here to help people become better daters.
I need help.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is talk about each of our 6 cast members and the dates that they went on. After that, I'll just give you my overall takes on the show. Is that a deal? Cool. First up, we got Anise. Anise is 62, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna need to see some paperwork. Anise has been married 3 times, but she's been single for the last 20 years. This girl's been single since before the iPhone was invented. She's been single since before the iPhone was invented. I just said it because I wrote it, and I'm gonna move on. Her story is super sad though. She married her high school sweetheart. They were together for 11 years, and he died tragically at an on-the-job accident. Today, Anise thinks that she self-sabotages her relationships. Plus, she doesn't think that most men can handle the fact that she has her PhD. You know, men get a little insecure about that kind of stuff, which is pretty stupid. Here in The Later Dater, she's getting the assist from her daughter, Dwayna. Okay, let's get into some of her date highlights. Her first blind date is with a dude named George. And I hate that it's the first one, but this date with George was the wildest of the whole show. She tells George she got 3 kids. My man George says, but how many baby daddies? George, what are you talking about? Then he asks her if she had any work done. He tells her that he lives in Chattanooga, but he fucks around in Atlanta. And last but not least, he says, I likes my women with a little ghetto in them. And I know you got some in your heart. I likes my women with a little ghetto in them. And I know you got, I likes my women with a little ghetto in them. And I know you got some in your heart. Listen, I know some younger single women are gonna watch this show and be like, wait a minute. So you're telling me it doesn't get better? Listen. We're not all Georges. Anyway, her next blind date is with this dude named Nate, who's also on the show. I always say when I watch shows like this, they gotta do more crossovers. Some of these people will be perfect for each other. I'm gonna talk more about that date when I get to Nate's section though. So we'll get back to that. Anise's third blind date is with this dude named Bill. Bill is white. Bill is British. Anise has never dated a white guy. Bill only dates black girls. What a predicament. And I'm not mad at Anise for never dating a white guy. She literally grew up in segregation. Remember, we're in the South now. Some schools were still segregated into the 1970s. Anyway, Anise pulls up to this date and she thinks Bill works at the damn restaurant. Good Lord. So she finally figures out that Bill is her date and not the freaking help. And shortly after that, Bill tells her that he only dates black girls because they have a higher energy and a higher passion. Well, Anise ain't matched none of that passion, and she came through with the weirdest energy, so much so that she talked herself out of the connection. But her next blind date was the winner chicken freaking dinner. This is the one when her daughter Dwayna got to swipe through some photos, and she's like, oh yeah, this the one. This is the one. Now, Anise didn't get to see the photos, so it is still a blind date. This is when she went out with Big Willie, the silver fox. Willie is 7 years younger than her at 55. He's been married twice. He's been single for the last 7 years, and he got 5 kids. You'll notice that him having 5 kids never comes out. I wonder why. Anise pulls up on Willie so damn thirsty, especially when she finds out he's 6'3". Watch this. There's a scene where she tells Willie how much she likes being outside, going on walks, going on hikes. This dude Willie's like, oh, so you're adventurous. Anise is like, oh, look at you reading me. Reading you? You just told him you like going outside. Listen, this is example number 5,000 of what happens when someone's attracted to you. The bar goes to ground level. Now, I'm not saying Willie ain't a good dude, but what I am saying is if he said some of those same things that George said from date one, she would have thought this dude was a comedian. Anyway, she likes this dude so much that they go on a second date where they're hanging with nature, you know, because she's so adventurous. But the freaking tension on this date, listen, don't let nobody tell you that baby boomers don't know how to keep things spicy, because man, before they got to that smooch, man, that wood was hot. I was in there leaning in like I was about to be at a triple. Listen, if these two don't work out, Willie's DMs are going to be overflowing. They need to go ahead and put this dude on Perfect Match. Okay, next up we got Suzanne, who's 63. Suzanne is an optometrist, and she's also an allotomist. This woman has a photo of Ronald Reagan hanging up in her house. She also has white dogs with dyed red ears. She gets the assist from her daughter, who's going to be picking her up on every blind date. Suzanne had a husband named Chris, and they were married for 27 years before he died. She lost him 5 years ago. Suzanne is obsessed with the Georgia Bulldogs. Yuck. Go Gators. She also loves Matthew McConaughey and Patrick Swayze. Okay, Suzanne's first blind date is with this dude named Frank, and good Lord, Frank stumbles into this date something vicious. Now, before this date, Logan, the relationship coach, told her, yo, chill out with all that boring, where do you live, where do you work stuff. She says, try to think of something interesting to bring up on these dates. Suzanne tells her, well, I did listen to this podcast with Matthew McConaughey. I found that very interesting. Logan's like, great. Try to weave that into the conversation at some point. So back to the date. Frank's like, hey, Suzanne, it's nice to meet you. Do you live in the area? Suzanne's like, wait a minute. Hold that thought. I just listened to a podcast with Matthew McConaughey. Frank's like, cool. So during this date, it comes out that Frank has a 16-year-old, which is a red flag for Suzanne. She doesn't want to date anyone with young kids. But just remember that I said that. But Frank ain't getting no red flags from Suzanne. My man goes in for the smooch, and Suzanne curves him so crazy, this dude almost falls out of his chair. God damn, get some consent next time, Frank. Those unsolicited smooches are for the pros. Moving on, Suzanne's second blind date is with this dude named Avery, and this amateur didn't even bring flowers. This wordsmith over here tells her that he was an English major, but he ended up working in finance. Naturally, Suzanne's like, whoa, how'd you end up working in finance? And this moron is like, you tell me. Literally, how can I tell you? Now, I know it's kind of hard to forget this, but Suzanne's a fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. This dude, Avery, went to Alabama. However, he is a fan of Matthew McConaughey, even though after telling her that, he says, yeah, I love Matthew McConaughey. Come on, come on, come on. Sir, it's all right. I listened to Matthew McConaughey on a podcast. After all these stumbles, though, she takes him on a second date, and they actually go to a Georgia football game. She even got this dude wearing the sticker on their face. I don't know if I could wear the op sticker on my face. Maybe for love. But a second date? Also, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention that this was the same second date where out of the blue, Avery tells her that he's not a fan of threesomes because he wants her all to himself. Oh, brother, Suzanne don't even want to smooch. You think she's thinking about threesomes? What in the reverse psychology is this? Overall, though, she thinks that things with Avery are moving a little too fast. Too fast? This the later daters. Do you know you have 30 minutes? Just kidding. Anyway, she still wants to pump the brakes and meet some more guys. This brings us to her third blind date with a dude named Jeff. Jeff is 59 years old. He's been divorced twice. He's got 3 kids, but he's been single for the last 10 years. He's quiet, he's boring, but he likes the Georgia Bulldogs, so she'll marry him. I'm just kidding. Jeff does seem to be a very nice guy. And they go on a couple dates, but in the end, she still chooses Avery. And just to be clear, remember how she didn't like Frank because he had a 16-year-old and she said she didn't want to raise no more kids? For comparison, Avery does indeed have a 14-year-old, and I don't know if you guys are really good at math. 14 is younger than 16. Just know that I said people change the rules for those that they are attracted to. That's all I'm saying. Next up, we got Nate. Nate is 56. He's got 2 kids. He was married for 16 years before it ended. Now, if Suzanne's personality is defined by being a Georgia Bulldogs fan, then Nate's personality is defined by being an Omega. And more power to you, King. It's all love for the Divine Nine. They asked Nate what type of women he likes, and he says, well, I like my woman to be educated, and I like her to be curvy with a big butt. Excellent. Nate's been single for almost 13 years, but it's his ex, Jackie, that's going to be helping him out through this process. Him and Jackie have a kid together. They met back at FAMU, had the kid super young, had no intentions to like really date. They were just kind of keeping it casual. But then that casual ends up with a kid, they ain't casual no more. But now they're like best friends. And in my opinion, they're kind of like the poster children of co-parenting. Now, I'm not saying I know what it was like when they were younger, but just watching it now, it just seems like a healthy relationship where like, yes, that's your dad, that's your mom. We're not together, but we are homies, we are friends. It's like so many times on TV, especially black people, you see like, you know, absent fathers or just like split custody and the shit's just mad toxic between the 2 parents, but they like are true homies. And it was like a blended family just done in a way. And I was just like, oh, this is unique, but also healthy. Just shows you like there's not only one right way to raise a kid. So good on you. Other things to know about Nate. He was in the Army and was injured jumping out of a plane that forced him out of service. Besides that, he has 13 TVs, and he once had a fiance that got pregnant by another guy when they were engaged. Damn, double homicide. Nate's first blind date is with a woman named Latricia. Latricia was also in the military. Check 1. They both pray and don't drink. Check 2, or so I thought. And the date goes well, and by the end, he even asked her for permission to take a selfie. You see, Frank, that's how consent works. But watch this. After the date, Nate's like, yeah, she's nice, but I think she's a little too religious for me. Brother, you asked her for permission to bless the food, and now you're mad that she's happy that you pray? Nate's like, listen, I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. Sorry. Nate's like, look, I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I need someone that's going to check all my boxes. And I would love to hear what my auntie has to say about that. If you know, you know. Then we get our one and only crossover date of the whole show. This is when Nate goes out with Denise. I mentioned this earlier in the beginning when I was talking about Denise. But this entire date is all awkward. He gets into the military stuff. And this is kind of one of the things that Logan wants Nate to focus on. Opening up about his insecurities. Nate's like, yeah, I was in the Army, but I left on disability. Denise is like, oh man, what happened? He's like, oh, I used to jump out of planes. She's like, wow, I want to do that. Nate's like, yeah, well, I broke my back. It's not funny. Nate's like, yeah, well, I broke my back. But it's not going to work out anyway because she's super active and Nate is more of a homebody. And a lot of that is because of his injury. Nate's next blind date is with a woman named Lisa. Lisa is 56. She's got 2 kids and she's been single for the last 2 years. Lisa looks like how Maya would look if she ever got old. Anyway, Nate loves how Lisa looks. And this date was going smooth until Nate was like, oh no, my kids, they cannot live with me. You got to get out this house and figure some shit out. And you know some people don't really care about that because they let their kids live with them. They could be in their mid-30s and their kids still living with them. Lisa's like, yeah, my kids live with me. Nate's like, oh Lord, how old are they? She's like, they're in their 30s. Hate that to be you, Lisa, but also, call me. Okay, Nate's 4th and final blind date is with a woman named Michelle. Michelle is 55. She's been divorced twice and she's been single for the last 8 years. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Nate went on this date dressed like Crocodile Dundee. But they're vibing though, I can't front. And Michelle was also in the military, so you know he likes that. By the end of this date, Nate is trying to figure out who he likes more between Michelle and Lisa. He tells us that Lisa having her old ass kids live with her just wasn't for him. So he invites Michelle out for a second date at a comedy show. But it wasn't nothing funny as soon as Nate found out that sometimes she leaves clothes on the bed. And his OCD starts to flare up, but she ain't running from it. She's like, bro, you're not living in the moment if your house is too clean. And this dude, Nate, is just like militant. He's like, look, when I leave the house, I want to leave it the way I like it. So that when I come home from being outside the house, I come home to a house that's left just how I like it. This dust up would unfortunately be the untimely demise of Nate and Michelle. A few weeks later, my man Nate tried to spin the block on Lisa, and this woman already done found her a new man. You hate to see it happen. All right, next up, we got Pam. Pam is 71. She was married twice, but she's been single for the last 15 years. She raised her granddaughter, Zoe, who lives with her, but Zoe is about to get married. So before Zoe goes out there and starts her own life, Pam is trying to get out there and find a partner. Just at least someone to kick it with. And Pam's gonna need all the help she can get from Zoe and Logan, because we find out that Pam was once catfished by someone telling her that they were Val Kilmer. So Pam is a wild girl, very hippie, very Woodstocky. She tells us that she fell in love with a rock star at a young age and ran off with him. This dude would eventually end up being her first husband. He died super young though, at the age of 44, because he fell asleep smoking a cigarette and burned the whole house down. Pam married again though, a dude named Will, and they were together for 21 years. Logan's got her hands full with this one, I'm not gonna hold you, but she sends her off on her first date in 15 years. Pam's going on a date with a 65-year-old dude named Robert. She's complaining about every damn thing on this date, but I guess I gotta give her grace because she's pretty much like Captain America as soon as he thawed out of the ice. Pam hasn't asked this man a single question about himself, and this dude actually noticed and called her out on it. Then she starts going on and on about the Egyptians and how they use different parts of their brains to build the pyramids. This girl's going to full quack mode. Anyone who knows anything about anything knows that aliens built the pyramids. Safe to say though that Robert won't be calling her back. Pam's second blind date is with a dude named Paul. Thank God she seems way more relaxed, way more cool in this date. Poor thing still has no idea how to flirt though. This dude Paul's like, yeah, there's a bar around here that I sing open mic at. Pam's like, oh yeah, well my first husband was one of the best singers of all time. It was giving very much my dad could beat up your dad energy. She's like, oh, well, I'll have to go watch you sing one day. Oh, that's very nice, Pam. Then she says, if you hear somebody booing in the back, it's me. But beneath all that, Pam likes Paul, and she's using these insults to convey that. They exchange numbers, then Pam goes in for a smooch so crazy it almost knocks Paul into a Hulu show. Look, like I said, dating doesn't get less awkward. Pam's third and final blind date is with my man Dwight. Dwight's never been married, but he has one kid. Right off the bat, Pam knows that this is more of a friend vibe anyway. And actually, I think she'd rather work with him than date him. Dwight does these little tours around Atlanta when you just hop on the bus and he'd be like, oh yeah, that's Magic City. Oh, that's where the Hawks play. You know those tours? She's like, oh, I think I'll be good at that. Like, bro, are you on a date or are you at a job fair? Pam literally ends up working with this dude Dwight on one of his tours. And look, Pam is kind of crazy. But at the end of her little section, when you see her with Dwight on the little tour, interacting with the other, like older folks learning about Atlanta, it's like, all right, I see what's happening here. Pam, of course, maybe wants a partner, but at the end of the day, she really needs a friend. And it was just nice to see that Dwight was able to provide that for her. So good for you, Pam. Now we got Lori. Lori is 57. She's got 2 kids that will be helping her out along this process. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that she asked her son if he would date her if he were a man. Lori's been single for 15 years. The first thing we learn about Lori is that she has a huge crush on this dude named Felton that's been putting her in the friend zone. Yep, they got people friend zoning at all ages too. Her first blind date on the show is with a dude named Ty. He's 59 years old, he's got 3 kids, and he's been single for 7 years. He also has a crippling foot fetish. This whole date, Lori's trying to tell him how he looks familiar. He's like, I do? He hasn't seen her face yet. He only looks at her feet. By the end of the date, they exchange numbers, and Lori realizes that she already had his number because they matched on Plenty of Fish. Yes, Plenty of Fish, the Spirit Airlines of dating apps. Safe to say there was no connection. Her next blind date is with a dude named Martin. Martin is 55, he's got 3 kids, but he's never been married. They're out there on their date making candles. Of course, Lori hates every scent that she smells. Lori realizes that she knows him from church. Lori knows everybody in that damn city. Now, the whole time that we've been tracking Lori, we know that she's been planning her birthday party. She calls that friend zone dude Felton to see if he can come to the party. I think he told her that he can't make it because he got to walk his pet goldfish. So on her date with Martin, it slips out that she's planning this birthday party. Martin naturally is like, oh, I would love to come to your birthday party. She's like, She really thinks that Felton is going to magically pop up at this party. But after stuttering for 30 to 35 minutes, she's finally like, sure, yeah, you can come to my birthday party. My man Martin pulled up at that birthday party by his damn self with a bouquet of flowers. Also, can we talk about the fact that Lori had a stylist for her party and pulled up in a graphic t-shirt? I beg your pardon. Anyway, back to Martin though, I gotta give him his props. He pulled up at that birthday party knowing damn well he wasn't gonna know anyone else. He stood on business, even if that business was awkward as fuck. She barely even acknowledges his presence. Even when they're sitting right next to each other, she's looking past him. You hate to freaking see it. Martin's like, I think I'm gonna head out. And her fake ass, oh, you're leaving? Okay, bye. You begged that friend zone nigga to come to your party, and he played you. Get you a nice man to show up with flowers, and you curved him. Can't win out here, I'm trying to tell y'all. Now watch this. Here we go. We're about to put a nice little awkward bow on this whole thing. Shortly after the party, Lori's lovers and friend zone buddy Felton calls her on the phone. He's like, look, I feel bad that I missed your party, but I'm in Atlanta and I would love to take you on a dinner date. Now Lori's on this call trying to play it cool, but she's really like... So fast forward to this dinner date with Felton, who's really just the Temu version of Big Willie. Lori's like, well, you know, Felton, I almost wore a sexy dress for you. Felton's looking at her like she just told him she saved a bunch of money on his car insurance. He's looking at her like, okay. But Lori's done being coy. She's like, so what's up? Is there a romantic connection here or not? Felton's like, I didn't see it that way. If I ever respond to your DMs, it's because you got something going. If I ever respond to your DMs, it's because you got something going on. Eesh, that's cold. The only thing Lori can think to say is, well, it's a good thing I didn't wear that sexy. It's a good thing I didn't wear that sexy dress. Yeah, Lori. It's a good thing. Listen, I hope all 6 of our cast members find the love that they seek. None of these people are bad people. None of them are villains. Like in some of the other dating shows, it'd be like, who's the villain? I just feel like Lori is going to have the hardest time finding a partner. And that includes crazy ass Pam. Lori just got too many guards up and she ain't gonna let nobody in except that friend zone dude. Now she claims she's like a pumpkin spice latte, only available for a limited time. Now, I can't prove this, but I know for a fact if Felton comes back around flashing that Amazon watch, she'll be running right back. Last but not least, we got Greg. Greg is 61. He's been married twice and he's been single for the last 12 years. He's got 2 kids, Ryan and Kyle, that are gonna be helping him out throughout this process. Greg explains that dating after marriage went from fun and exciting to frustrating because he kept getting ghosted. And that's another one. Ghosting happens at any age. Now, when it comes to his first marriage, Greg explains candidly that their son Ryan, having cerebral palsy, put a huge strain on the marriage. Obviously, he's not saying it's Ryan's fault, but they put so much into his care that they never sat down to realize and talk about what it was doing to their marriage. When Greg meets up with Logan, she asks him what kind of woman is he looking for. He tells her someone that looks like Penelope Cruz or Jennifer Aniston. My boy thinks he's on too hot to handle. This is the later daters, my boy, relax. Anyway, Greg's first blind date is with a woman named Kelly. She's 59 years old, she's got 4 kids, and she's been single for 11 years. Maybe this is too hot to handle though, because Kelly's kind of a baddie. They go water skiing and this girl moving like she's in the Olympics. Kelly has great energy. She's attractive, she's active, she's nice, but Greg doesn't want to date her again because she lives in the metro Atlanta area. Even Logan was like, bruh, are you gonna let a little Atlanta traffic get in the way of love? And Greg was like, yes. Greg's next blind date is with a woman named Sherry. Sherry is 60 years old and she's been divorced 3 times. At what point do you just stop? Anyway, she's got 2 kids and she's been single for 13 years. Sherry was cool though. She actually adopted her 2 kids, one from Guatemala, one from Ethiopia. She's literally Angelina Jolie, minus the star power and millionaire partner because she's raising these kids as a single parent. But still, this date goes down the drain in record time though. Sherry looks like a world-renowned author. She looks like one of those authors that read their books in those rooms full of people who are also scholars waiting to connect and nerd out and add each other on LinkedIn. Greg, on the other hand, looks like who they target John Deere commercials to on the radio. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there comes a point in the date when Sherry asks him what's his favorite place to travel, and he tells her it had to be Montana. Sherry's like, oh, well, mine's Turkey. Greg's like, oh, that's nice. I've never been there, but I do love Thanksgiving. Sherry got up out of there so quick you could see her cape flapping in the wind. So a couple days later, Greg's like, you know what? Maybe I was a little too harsh with Kelly, his first date, about the whole living in Metro Atlanta thing. I'm gonna give her a call and see if she's open for a second date. And what do you think happens? Kelly is already seeing someone else. You think a baddie like that is gonna be sitting around waiting for you to come to your senses? So let that be a lesson to you kids. Don't be afraid to just send that text, because you just never know what you're gonna miss out on. So what's my take? Yeah, this is a cool little show. In a world of Love is Blinds and Too Hot to Handles and ultimatums, shows like this and like Love on the Spectrum are way more wholesome. And that connection makes sense because the creator of Love on the Spectrum, Keegan O'Cleary, is also a producer on this show. To be clear, Love on the Spectrum is a much better show, a much more enjoyable show. And I gravitated to those cast members from those seasons way more than I did to these 6 people here. But there's still a lot to like about the later daters. First of all, I'm here for all the diversity and all the inclusion. I talked about shows like The Golden Bachelor getting way more popular, but that show is still a competition show. I don't even know how shows like The Bachelor still exist as a concept. But here in the later daters, just watching older people date with way less pressure and seeing how it's not that much different than anyone else was very cool. Of course, they have to learn what the eggplant emoji really means. Of course, they still type on their phones like they're using a calculator in the 1980s. But underneath it all, like I said, what you really see is that dating is gonna be awkward at any age. Women are still gonna hate on short kings. Men are still gonna be pervs. And both men and women are gonna be ghosted. All of which you see here. I don't care what you say. I don't care how cool you think you are. First dates are gonna be awkward. Add on top of that, blind first dates. It's nice to see these folks have these shared experiences with the help of their friends and family. And of course, the dating coach Logan. I know why they hired dating coaches on Love on the Spectrum. I know why they hired a dating coach for this show. A lot of our friends here haven't dated in years, some of them decades. They rusty, but I still think if we've learned anything from watching shows like Love is Blind is that everyone could use a little professional help. Why is it that Love on the Spectrum, Down for Love, the later daters, all these people get dating coaches? What we've learned, we all need a little extra counsel. Don't think these old folks are unique in needing a little help. No. We all need it. Another thing I like about this show is the little segments on each episode. They'll take a break from all that dating and stuff, and they'll just ask them a simple question. Tell us about your first kiss. Tell us about your love language. And freaking Pam says Italian. Ugh. Tell us about the strangest place you made whoopee, which is now the whitest thing I've ever uttered on this channel. And of course, it could be super cringy to answer these personal questions in front of your friends and family, but I would argue that maybe in a strange way, it brings them closer together. This is a simple little tactic, but it's effective. Because when you watch them answer that question, you can see them go back in time in their brain to a time when they were younger, more hip, cooler, dating more frequently. And it's like, yeah, I do remember my first kiss. This is how I felt. And just that small exercise probably helps them connect with the present. It's like, oh wait, yeah, I remember that feeling. I too can recreate that now. So it's like, okay, this is not about feeling sad about being older. This is like, oh wait a minute, that's still me. I'm still the same person. In the same vein, when they're going on dates and they put up those photos when they were younger and they put up the photos of who they're going on the date with when they was younger, I love that too. Because it's like, oh yeah, you may look a little different today, but those are the photos for when you were out there in these streets, dating all sorts of people, looking for love. And although that was a long time ago, you're doing the same thing now. So it's like another like parallel. It's like, no, we're not too old for this. Like that's still me.
What are you hoping for tonight?
I'm so afraid to hope for something.
I realize that I have flaws.
I'm just really afraid of being hurt.
All through my life, I didn't have room to be soft. I had to be strong.
And to be clear, I've listed a whole bunch of similarities in dating at any range. And the show is highlighting a lot of that stuff where it's like, look, this is something you're going to have to deal with at any age of dating. However, there are some things that are unique to that age range. Two things in particular stood out to me. Number one, that dating when you're younger is like a startup company. You don't have much baggage. You're just figuring shit out. When you're older, dating is more like a merger. You got assets, you got employees, and you're just trying to figure out if these two established companies can come together as one. That's powerful. The second thing that stuck with me, you know how when you're dating, people be like, oh yeah, I'm someone you could take home to mom. Oh, I'm someone you could take home to your dad. At that age, most of the time, their parents have already passed away. So you're not taking them home to meet the parents. A lot of the times, you're taking them home to meet their kids. And that's a whole nother thing. I think it's very nice that Netflix even made this show. And I'm 100% sure that everyone could take something from it. But I got to give a huge shout out to these folks. Brave enough not only to just get back into the dating game, which could be frightening, especially at that age where they might think that their time has passed. It has not. But to do so with cameras in their face, oh my God, all the applause, all the flowers to these folks. I wish them nothing but the best. You deserve partnership. You deserve love. And I hope Netflix makes more shows like this in the future. The Later Daters is available right now exclusively on Netflix. As always, thanks for checking out Tate's Take. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. In the comments, just let me know what you thought about this show. Do you like it just as much as shows like Love on the Spectrum, Indian Matchmaking, Love is Blind, these kind of things? What are your thoughts? Who was your favorite cast member? What was your favorite date? What was your favorite moment? Talk about anything you want. What a nice little show, man. Look, it's wholesome. That's a good word for it, wholesome. How come I didn't call it wholesome the whole episode? Crazy. Thanks for the time, y'all. Peace. Hey. Honestly, at the end of the day, one thing I didn't talk about is how we younger folks be thinking happily ever after is the end all be all. You like find love in high school or college, and then you date that person and you marry that person and you guys have kids and white picket fences. But you watch shows like this and it's like, look, this shit ain't perfect. That girl had 3 divorces, people with 2 divorces. Each time they probably thought that was forever. And it just didn't work out. And here they are, just fine, dating, kids grown, fine. Like, run your race is what I'm saying. Run your race however you run it. You are not less than if a relationship doesn't work out. This is life, you know? They might feel like their time has passed. No. They're like, fuck that. I still got it. I still deserve. I'm filming.
Oh, you gotta put like that like on air.
Yeah, I should. Why are you wearing my shirt?
Oh my gosh, so cute, right?
Yeah.
It's only like fits me right now.
You there? Where the hell's the kid?
At school.
Damn, it's Wednesday. I ain't got that off.